So guys, how are you feeling about finally coming to the competition and finally being in Joburg?
We are excited to be here. We are really looking forward to see what the CFO case study competition can bring to us and how it can help us in our future careers.
And I believe you guys are the first and the one and only team from Cape Town. So how does that feel?
It feels great. It feels awesome, but it's also a lot of pressure because we know we have to nail this. We have to represent. We're not only representing our school and ourselves, but we're also representing the rest of the Western Cape.
Thank you so much, guys. I wish you all the best for the competition.
Thank you.
The Amango case, researched, designed and developed by the CharterQuest Institute, is based on a real-world multinational business within the global metal and mining industry. It simulates the strategic decisions its group CFO and board faced or potentially faces. The group is faced with the complex interplay of strategic threats, weaknesses and opportunities, some of which are embedded with serious ethical dilemmas, involving compelling individuals and powerful stakeholders that create a context for significant organizational change. The board has published a 3-year viability statement and turnaround strategy with emphasis on 4 policy objectives. 1. Restructure the portfolio. 2. Deleverage the balance sheet. 3. Drive operational discipline. And 4. Change dividend policy. 6 major issues have surfaced that require the group's attention, for which the board has asked the teams to prioritize, evaluate, and offer strategic advice. Managing divisional performance group-wide. A strategic performance measure relied upon to evaluate and reward executives appears to be creating some dysfunctional behaviors with unintended consequences. The CFO junior aspirants were required to apply business studies as well as accounting. Strategic joint venture decision in Canada. A native Aboriginal group in Canada has been on rampage against mining companies, singling out Amango for exploiting mineral resources with too little benefit accruing to their clan. A number of mining companies, including Amango, are going into JV arrangements to mitigate this risk and undertake coal mining projects following resurgence in coal prices. There is need to decide on the best configuration for the mining infrastructure, amongst others. The CFO junior aspirants were required to apply concepts relevant to economics as well as business studies. Strategic disposal in Brazil. Amango, as part of an ongoing asset restructuring program, has received a $1.5 billion offer to buy one of its subsidiaries in Brazil. the offer needs to be evaluated taking into account its interconnection with the corporate reconstruction and reorganization issue. The CFO junior aspirants were required to apply economics, accounting, as well as business studies, balance sheet deliverage or share repurchase. Amango's iron ore and coal disposal plans in South Africa has come under attack by the PIC, its single largest shareholder, who is threatening to dump its shares in the market if it proceeds with the disposal plan. In a separate development, the government is about to promulgate a new set of mining regulations that will impose a 10% royalty tax on the turnover of all mining companies and require them to surrender 26% of their ownership to historically disadvantaged persons as part of its Black Economic Empowerment (BEE) policies. The company is considering to rather sell part of its residential property portfolio to a BEE group and use the funds to meet specified objectives. The CFO junior aspirants were required to apply accounting, economics, and business studies, operational risk, and industrial action in Australia. A controlled shutdown has been hurriedly effected in one of the group's mines in Australia, with 560 personnel evacuated due to safety concerns. 6 are reported dead, and 80 miners trapped in deep underground mines have been rescued. The incident has invited us notice to strike from the trade unions, and there is a protected strike that is already in motion. The CFO junior aspirants were required to apply accounting and business studies, corporate reconstruction and reorganization. There is a fierce board debate over the strategic direction of the group, impacting on the decision as to which businesses to sell and which ones to keep. The CFO junior aspirants were required to apply accounting and business studies. Best wishes to the teams.
Okay, so the next team is Team G-Force. They're going to G-Force through, yeah? Okay. Let's give them a hand, guys.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. These are the 6 interlinked issues that we've considered when creating this report. Now, I will immediately hand over to Jacques, who will present the first scenario.
Divisional performance group-wide. The subsidiary executives of Amango followed their own mandate. They placed Amango in an undesirable position. Now, this negatively influenced the lives of the workers. Now, Amango needs to look at the viability of the current evaluating and rewarding system, since the performance bonuses of the executives are linked to operating profits. By postponing standard civil schedules for safety critical equipment, Amango did not only disregard Pillar A, safety and health, they also placed the miners directly in harm's way. Retrenching workers from mines, which is still economically viable and beneficial, are all part of reducing expenses to boost short-term profits. This action is now damaging the sustainability of the company in the long run. It has also been found that a company does not record financial information when required. Now, I think this is not even necessary for me to emphasize that this behavior is illegal and does not correspond with good business ethics as well as a King Code 3. In summary, ladies and gents, it is clear that the subsidiary executives of Amango acted out of sheer greed to first of all enlarge their bonuses and secondly to enrich themselves, all at the expense of the company.
Secondly is the strategic joint venture decision in Canada. Idle No More, a grassroots Aboriginal protest movement in Canada, is threatening to cripple the country's low-risk resource development, pressing for more benefits of mining to occur to native Canadians. Amango has noted a trend with competitors setting up joint ventures with local partners, mostly members of Idle No More, but is unsure whether to partner with them or not. Amango also wants to sink their mining infrastructure into the ground, but is unsure which design to use between design 1, 2, and 3, as they are worried about the local coal demand. Now let us have a look at the 3 different mine designs. Design 1 is the small and shallow mine, which generates a revenue of $251 million and a cost of $157 million and a profit of $93 million. Design 2 is the medium size and depth mine, which generates a revenue of $376 million, a cost of $300 million, and a profit of $76 million. And lastly, Design 3. This is the large and deep mine, and it generates a revenue of $502 million, a cost of $470 million, and a profit of $32 million. Now, although Design 3 is the largest of the 3 designs, it generates the least profit due to the need for excessive overtime. Now, it is very clear to us that Amango should use Design 1, as it is the most profitable design out of the 3. We also recommend that Amango should make one of Idle No More members a director in their company and put them in charge of the role of being a public relations officer or head of CSI, so that they can be a link between Amango and the community and listen to the needs of the community and act upon them. Because as stated in one of their pillars, Pillar C, Amango has a responsibility to partner with companies and governments for the benefit of the Canadians.
Strategic disposal in Brazil. Amango received a final offer of $750 million from CMOC for AMANP, the niobium and phosphate subsidiary based in Brazil. They now have to decide whether they're going to accept or deny this offer. Important figures taken into consideration when making this decision is the business policy of Amango, as well as the 3-year viability statement set up by Amango. Now, the first point of the 3-year viability statement stipulates that Amango seeks to dispose of non-core assets, for example, subsidiaries that are unprofitable. When looking at the figures, we as a team were able to calculate that the equity value of AMANP is $750.2 million, $200,000 more than the offer received. The equity value of a company is also known as its net asset value. Therefore, it would be unwise for Amango to even consider disposing of the company for a value below net asset value. One of AMANP's strengths is that they're one of the few subsidiaries of Amango currently running on a profit. They generate the operating profit after tax of $34.1 million and is therefore a core asset. So we as the team would strongly recommend that Amango not dispose of AMANP for a value of $750 million, as the offer is below net asset value and it is a core asset.
Balance sheet deleverage. Amango needs to lower their amount of debt by deleveraging their balance sheet. They plan to sell their coal and iron ore subsidiaries in South Africa. The Public Investment Corporation is challenging this. The PIC, with a few other investors, plan to dump more than 15% of Amango shares on the market at the end of 2017. This would have a negative impact on Amango's share price, bonuses of directors, and returns to shareholders. The outcome of the force field analysis on selling the subsidiaries has a negative outlook on Amango. If the selling of subsidiaries in South Africa go through, 36,000 people will lose their jobs. This would contribute to the unemployment rate that currently stands on 26.6%. This also collides with one of South Africa's macroeconomic objectives, full employment. Amango is considering an alternative proposal, selling 71% of their apartment portfolio to Black economic empowerment properties. This will also contribute to the mining law that is mooted by the South African government. The force field analysis on selling the apartment portfolio has a positive outlook on Amango. They would generate $6.4 billion on book value by the selling of these properties. The debt-to-equity ratio before the sale is 1.16 to 1, meaning that they are highly geared and high risk. If they use that money to pay down debt, the debt-to-equity ratio would decrease to 0.86 to 1. We would strongly recommend that Amango sell the 71% of their apartment portfolio, because this would reduce their amount of debt and 36,000 people will retain their jobs.
Operational risk and industrial action in Australia. Now, a newly constructed mine shaft failed in its first week of operation due to faulty geotechnical design. The near collapse of the mine shaft led to 6 reported deaths and 560 personnel evacuated. Now, experts have warned that any attempt to reopen the mine could lead to a total collapse. Nevertheless, the CEO, Mike Utica, has ordered the mine to be reopened, deliberately violating Pillar A, safety and health. Now, as a recommendation in this scenario, we have suggested that Amangu should implement a safety management system. The reason we have said it is because they're facing a serious issue here. We want them to use the time they have on hand efficiently and to prevent bringing harm to the workforce. Now, first of all, there's a couple of things that we need to consider here. Safety negligence has emerged as over-delivery on production targets were picked up here. Now, the first question that we asked ourselves was, who was responsible for the collapse of the mine shaft? Now, the over-delivery on production targets can be connected or linked to Amangu itself. But also, you have to take in consideration the engineers who have designed the mine shaft for their use in this mine. Thank you.
Corporate reconstruction and reorganization. Amangu is faced with the challenge of selling some of their subsidiaries as part of their turnaround plan. They hope to raise $2 to $3 billion by doing so. The CEO of the PIC stated that they would only invest and support companies that do not only deliver superior shareholder return, but care deeply about the socio-economic needs of South Africa. The Public Investment Corporation has a 15% stake in Amangu. Thus, they have a large influence on the company. If the selling of subsidiaries in South Africa goes through, this collides with the policies of the PIC in terms of socio-economic needs.
Now, when looking at the possible subsidiaries Amangu should consider disposing of, we as the team decided on Nickel Limited on the basis of the following. We were able to determine that Amangu has a 4% market share worldwide in nickel mining. Figures that were very concerning is that Nickel Limited had a decrease in operating profits percentage of more than 204% from the years 2015 to 2016. This led to their operating profit over revenue being an appalling negative 15%.
Based on these figures, Amangu should consider selling Nickel Limited on one condition, that it is not based in South Africa.
Now, in conclusion, we have noted that Amangu is largely influenced by other companies and organizations, such as the PIC and Idle No More as seen above, and that Amangu is highly geared with a debt-to-equity ratio of 1.16 to 1, which is very bad and indicates that the company has a debt problem. Now, due to the debt problem, the directors of Amangu are taking unethical decisions to boost short-term profits and increase their bonuses. Now, this to us proves that Amangu also has a relationship management problem, which we can clearly see examples of between Amangu and the PIC, and also Idle No More, and in scenario 1, between the miners and the executives. Now, as a company, you do not only have a mining license, but you also have a social license as well, which refers to the people and the environment around you. So this is why we recommend that Amangu should mend all broken relationships with all its stakeholders. And to solve the debt problem, they should consider selling part of their property to BEE properties. Thank you.
Team GFOS, thank you so much. Your presentation slides were very few, but I'm amazed that you managed to go through the whole 10 minutes. My question is, you have given me a list of recommendations. Can you give me the top 3 that I need to focus on, and why that is the top 3 I need to focus on? And again, how would I implement those strategies?
We would recommend that Amangu should sell the 71% of the apartment portfolio to reduce the amount of debt.
The second one was actually the one in the conclusion with the relationship management issue. Because if you can notice, in all the scenarios, the problems are actually linked to the relationship. So if they fix the relationship with the stakeholders, then that can be good.
Okay. The first one will be the rewarding system that Mango is using at the moment. Now, throughout the report, we have seen that it has played a role in a couple of these interlinked issues. Now, we strongly suggest that Mango takes a look at this to change it in a way that would, suit them. Now, they don't necessarily need to change the rewarding system, but they should implement measures to prevent the unethical decisions that is being taken due to that fact.
Thank you very much. I think your last answer answered my one question, which was how do you tie it back to your first piece around the management reward system, which is what you had opened with. So thank you. Also, thank you as a board for bringing us back to the pillars. I think it's important in grounding some of the decisions. So the questions I have, first one being answered, is really just trying to understand from the solutions you proposed, and particularly in terms of the sale of the business of AMP, because we're selling it below, our offer is below NAV by 200. If you got an offer that matched NAV and we went back to market, do you recommend we accept that? And would you readdress the order of your priorities if that is the opportunity?
Okay, I would like to answer that. So the net asset value, yes, it was 750.2. Now the offer that was made was only $200,000 less. But what I would like to emphasize is that the other reason why we decided not to sell is because AMANP is a core asset. And as stipulated in the 3-year viability statement, a Mango seeks to dispose of non-core assets. So yes. So no.
That yarn, yeah. Like
it's a no. So if the offer were to be $750.2 million US, we would not accept because it's a core asset.
Okay. Thanks very much. I think you've covered a number of the issues, and the focus and the emphasis on the ethics and the pillars, given the current narrative in the country, is so important, and you've managed to recognize that. Thanks for that. But to your point, which you've very, very well you articulated around the executives putting profit before values in the organization. As a board, do you think we should fire the lot of them? Seriously, what do you think? What action do you think we need to take as a responsible board in executing our fiduciary duties?
As a board, are you referring to now to what should be?
To the executives, and you mentioned the CEO and what the CEO has done, quite blatantly in your slides.
Okay, so first of all, with the managing of divisional performance group-wide, mostly the decisions that was taken was in benefit of the executives. But then also when you go over to operational risk and industrial action in Australia, the CEO, Mike Utica, ordered the mine to be reopened, while Nigel Payne is the CEO of that subsidiary in Australia. Now, given the information and taking that into consideration, they were losing $250,000 daily that the mine was shut down. Also, they were facing the bad publicity that they were receiving. Now, we can say that that was the reason that the CEO has decided to reopen the mine. And then we can say then, and in the beginning with the managing divisional performance, that it was taken to benefit them. So I think, first of all, you need to give them a chance to say why they have taken those decisions, to elaborate on that. And therefore, I would then say you should then look at what shall be the correct or the responsible way to act according to what they said to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well done, guys. You mentioned King 3 and sustainable reporting. How would you recommend to us, the board, to communicate these decisions once finalized? Would you use social media? How would you recommend we communicate this to be transparent and responsible shareholders or board members to our shareholders and stakeholders?
Maybe at the next AGM of Amangu, they can convey this decisions that they have made to the shareholders.
Just to add on that, a very important thing also, as we ended in the conclusion, we referred to the relationships in Amangu. Now, I think for Amangu to have the right type of relationship with the miners and parties such as the PIC and all of that, they first need to start working on the relationships inside Amangu, which is the relationships between the CEOs and the executives. Because at the moment, there are poor relationships between the executives and CEOs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Thank you again, GeForce. You mentioned that social partnership is going to be very key in turning things around in Amangu. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're going to do with No Idle, besides the putting them as public relations officers in your company?
First of all, when we looked at that matter, now if you go look at the communities where these mines are situated in Canada, now this person that will be serving on the board will be someone that is picked or selected by the community itself. So this person will act as the voice of the community. Now, we see a lot of in the news about communities protesting where mines are located because they were promised jobs and the jobs were never received, and so on and so on. So the job of this person would be to keep the peace and the correct relationships between the mining company and then the community. So basically, this person will act in the benefit of the community.
Okay, good luck.